The big doors of the Galactic Council Hall opened with a loud sound. Ambassador Kang Wu walked inside, his black shoes making soft clicks on the cold metal floor. His blue uniform was clean and neat, but his face looked tired. Today was not going to be a good day. The hall was huge. It could hold 1,000 beings from different worlds. The ceiling was so high that Kang Wu had to look up to see it. Strange lights hung from above, making everything glow with a soft blue color. Around the room, delegates from many alien races sat in their special chairs. Kang Wu had been here many times before. Each time, he hoped things would be different. Each time, he left feeling sad and angry. But today felt worse. Today felt like the end. He walked to the center of the room where a small platform waited for him. As he climbed the 3 steps, he could feel hundreds of eyes watching him. Some eyes were big and round. Others were small and narrow. A few delegates had no eyes at all, but Kang Wu knew they were still watching him in their own way. In the observation deck above, Director Park Soo sat with her hands folded. She was a strong woman with short black hair and dark eyes that missed nothing. She wore the gray uniform of the Human Colonial Defense Force. 3 gold stars on her shoulder showed her high rank. Park Soo watched Kang Wu take his place at the speaking platform. She had known this man for 15 years. He was smart and brave, but she could see the pain in his face. 27 years of trying to make friends with the council had left its mark on him. Next to her sat Captain Yu Jin, a younger woman with kind eyes and steady hands. "Do you think they will listen this time?" Yu Jin asked in a quiet voice. Park Soo shook her head slowly. "No, they stopped listening long ago. Maybe they never really listened at all." Down on the main floor, the council speaker called for quiet. The speaker was from the Vorth race. Its body looked like it was made of blue crystal. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind blowing through caves. "The human delegate may speak," the speaker said. Its words echoed around the big room. Kang Wu looked around at all the faces watching him. He saw the Zirathi delegates on his left. They were tall beings with scales like snakes and eyes like cats. Their leader, Prime Speaker Zith, looked at him like he was something dirty on her shoe. On his right sat the Melkari delegates. They were small gray beings with big ears and gentle faces. Unlike the others, they looked worried. The Melkari had always been kind to humans, but they were not strong enough to help much in the council. "Honored delegates," Kang Wu began, his voice clear and strong. "I stand before you today to speak for all humans in the galaxy. For 27 years, we have asked to be your partners. We have shared our knowledge. We have helped in times of trouble. We have asked for nothing but respect and fair treatment." Some of the delegates made sounds of boredom. A few looked at their datapads instead of listening. This made Kang Wu feel angry, but he kept his voice calm. "We have given much to this council," he continued. "Our doctors have saved millions of lives with new medicines. Our farmers have shown you how to grow food on dead worlds. Our teachers have shared our history and art, yet we are still treated like children who do not know anything." Prime Speaker Zith made a hissing sound that might have been laughter. She stood up, her tall body casting a shadow over the smaller delegates near her. "Human," she said, her voice cold and sharp. "You speak of what you have given, but you do not understand what you ask for. A seat on this council is not a gift. It is earned through centuries of wisdom and power. Your species is barely out of its caves. You play with technologies you found by accident. You fight wars over nothing. How can beings like you guide the galaxy?" Other delegates nodded and made sounds of agreement. Kang Wu felt his heart sink. He had heard these same words so many times before. "We have not fought a war in 30 years, Kang Wu said. "We have colonies on 40 worlds, and all of them live in peace. Our ships explore new stars every day. Our scientists make new discoveries every week. How is this not worthy of respect? Peace? Zif laughed, showing her sharp teeth. You have peace because you are too weak to fight anyone who matters. Your colonies are small and scattered. Your ships are slow and simple. Your scientists copy what others have done before. This is not strength. This is luck. Up in the observation deck, Park Sue felt her hands make fists. She wanted to stand up and tell Zith exactly what she thought of her words, but she stayed quiet and still. Getting angry would not help now. Captain Yu Jin leaned over and whispered, "The trade agreements?" "Denied again," Park Sue whispered. "Back, same as last time, same as every time." Down on the floor, Kang Wu tried one more time. "We ask for trade agreements so we can help each other. We ask for defense pacts so we can stand together against common enemies. We ask for representation so our voice can be heard when decisions affect human worlds. These are not big things to ask for." "They are too big for you," said another delegate. This one was from the Corvan Empire, a race of tall, thin beings with silver skin. "Perhaps in 100 years, when you have proven you can survive without our help, we might consider it." The fourth speaker made a sound like breaking glass. "The human request for trade agreements is denied. The request for defense pacts is denied. The request for council representation is denied. This session is over." Kang Wu stood alone on the platform as delegates began to leave. Many of them were talking and laughing as if nothing important had happened. Only the Melkari delegates looked sad as they walked past him. In the observation deck, Park Sue stood up and walked to the big window that looked out into space. She could see human ships in the distance, waiting to take the delegates home. Soon, those ships would be going much further than home. She pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Far away, Admiral Li Dong would receive her message. The message was short but clear. "Begin protocol exodus." Captain Yu Jin came to stand beside her. "Are we really going to leave?" Park Sue nodded. "We gave them every chance. We tried everything we could think of. We were patient when they called us stupid. We were kind when they were cruel. We were hopeful when they gave us nothing to hope for. And now? Now we go build something better, something that does not need their permission." Down on the main floor, Kang Wu gathered his papers and walked toward the exit. As he passed the Melkari delegates, their leader spoke to him in a quiet voice. "We are sorry, friend Kang Wu. We tried to speak for you, but our words carry no." "Wait here." Kang Wu stopped and looked at the small gray being. "Thank you for trying. You have always been good friends to us. What will you do now?" Kang Wu was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "We will do what humans always do. We will find another way." As he left the council hall for the last time, Kang Wu did not look back. Behind him, the great doors closed with a sound like thunder. The sound echoed through the empty halls, but no one was left to hear it. In her ship high above the council station, Park Sue watched the stars and made plans. The galaxy was big, and there were many places humans had not yet explored. Perhaps it was time to see what lay beyond the borders of council space. The final warning had been given. The council had made their choice. Now humanity would make theirs. 3 months had passed since that terrible day in the council hall. Captain Yu Jin stood on the bridge of her ship, looking out at the Kepler colony below. The colony had been humanity's first successful world outside Earth's solar system. Now it would be the last human world to go dark. "Status report," Yu Jin said to her crew. "All families are on board, Captain," said her second officer, Kim Tae. He was a young man with nervous hands and a kind heart. "The automated systems are ready to begin the cleanup." Yu Jin nodded. The cleanup was not destruction. Humans did not destroy things when they left. Instead, they carefully took apart everything they had built. Every building, every machine, every piece of art would be loaded onto ships and taken away. When they were done, Kepler colony would look like humans had never been there at all. What? About the Melkari families? Yujin asked. 43 families have asked to come with us, Kim Tae replied. They say they cannot stay here without human protection. This made Yujin feel both sad and proud. The Melkari had been good friends to humans for many years. They were a peaceful people who just wanted to live quiet lives and raise their children in safety. But the bigger, stronger races in the council often pushed them around. Give them all the space they need, Yujin said. Anyone who wants to come with us is welcome. Through the ship's big windows, she could see the last human transport. Ships lifting off from the colony. Each ship was full of families, their belongings, and their hopes for a new life far from council space. On the planet below, machines worked day and night to take apart the human city. The hospital where Dr. Lim Young had saved thousands of lives was being carefully dismantled. The school where human and alien children had learned together was being packed up piece by piece. The farms that had fed half the sector were being stripped down to bare earth. "Captain," said the communications officer, "we're getting messages from other colonies. The Corvan Empire is asking why their food shipments have stopped. The Vorth want to know when our atmospheric processors will be fixed." Yujin almost smiled. For years, the council had told humans they were not important. Now, after just 3 months, they were starting to see how much they had depended on human help. "Send them all the same message," she said. "Tell them to ask the council for help." Meanwhile, in a small transport ship heading away from the core worlds, former Counselor Han Din sat quietly in his cabin. He was an old man now, with gray hair and tired eyes. For 15 years, he had been humanity's voice in the council. For 15 years, he had been ignored, insulted, and dismissed. His assistant, a young woman named Choi Wan, came to sit beside him. "Any regrets, Counselor?" Han Bin was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I regret that we wasted so much time trying to make them like us. I regret that we thought their approval mattered, but I do not regret leaving. Where will we go?" "Beyond the rim," Han Bin said, looking out at the stars. "There are worlds out there that the council has never seen. Places where we can build something new, something better." Back on the bridge of her ship, Captain Yujin watched the last of the Kepler colony disappear into her cargo holds. The planet below looked empty and sad, like a house where no one lived anymore. "All ships report ready for departure," Kim Tae said. "Take us out," Yujin ordered Dot as her ship and the others like it moved away from Kepler. Yujin thought about all the human colonies that were doing the same thing. 40 worlds, hundreds of ships, millions of people, all leaving at the same time. It was the biggest movement of people the galaxy had ever seen, and most of the council did not even know it was happening. The Melkari families on her ship were scared, but excited. Their children pressed their faces to the windows, watching the stars go by. They had never traveled so far from home before. "Where are we going?" one of the Melkari fathers asked Yujin. "To a place where our children can grow up free," she answered. "To a place where no one will tell us we are not good enough." The old man nodded. "This is good. The council never cared about people like us anyway." As the human fleet moved further from council space, they left behind empty worlds and silent stations. The great human quarter of Nexus Station, once full of shops and restaurants and laughing children, was now dark and quiet. The research stations where human scientists had made amazing discoveries were shut down and abandoned. But the humans were not alone. Hundreds of ships from other species followed them, small races that had been pushed around by the council. Peaceful people who just wanted a chance to live without fear. Scientists and artists and farmers who had worked with humans and learned to respect them. They all moved together toward the edge of the galaxy, toward the unknown stars where the council's power could not reach them. Behind them, the great civilization. that had rejected them was about to learn what they had really lost. 6 months after the humans left, the Zirathi war fleet moved toward the border of Kithara space. Prime Speaker Zith stood on the bridge of her flagship, looking at the enemy ships on her screens. This should have been an easy battle. The Kithara were fierce fighters, but they were not as advanced as the Zirathi. But something was wrong. "Battle damage report," Zith ordered. "Heavy casualties, Prime Speaker," her aide replied. "We have lost 12 ships. The medical bays are full, and we are running out of supplies." Zith felt a cold fear in her stomach. In the old days, before the humans left, battles like this were different. Human doctors had worked with Zirathi medics to save the wounded. Human engineers had helped design better armor for Zirathi ships. Human tacticians had shared their knowledge of strategy and planning. Now, without human help, the Zirathi were losing soldiers they could have saved. They were making mistakes they could have avoided. They were fighting with old tactics that did not work anymore. "Contact the Council," Zith said. "Tell them we need medical support." "The Council Medical." "Ships are all busy," her aide reported. "The Vorth colony crisis is taking all available resources." Zith cursed. The Vorth crisis was another problem caused by the human departure. The crystal beings had built their colonies using human atmospheric processors. When the humans left, they had taken the processors with them. Now 3 Vorth worlds were dying, and their people were suffocating in their own poisoned air. On the other side of the galaxy, Dr. Lim Young stood in her new laboratory on the world of New Bizon. Through her windows, she could see the construction of humanity's first city beyond the galactic rim. The buildings were tall and beautiful, made with new technologies that humans had been developing in secret for years. "The crop yields are excellent," her assistant reported. "The new quantum agriculture methods are working even better than we hoped." Dr. Lim smiled. While the Council had dismissed human farming as primitive, human scientists had been quietly revolutionizing how food was grown. Now, while the core worlds faced food shortages, the human colonies had more than enough to eat. "Any word from the Council?" she asked. "They have sent 17 requests for agricultural assistance," her assistant said. "All marked as urgent. And our response? The same as always. We refer them to their own agricultural experts." Dr. Lim nodded. The Council had always claimed that human methods were too simple, too basic. Now they could see how well those simple methods worked. Meanwhile, in the Council chambers, an emergency session was taking place. The great hall that had once been full of proud delegates now held only a few dozen beings. Many of the smaller species had left to join the humans. Others had been forced to abandon their council seats because their worlds were in crisis. Vorth Speaker, its crystal body dim with worry, addressed the remaining delegates. "The situation grows worse each day. Food shortages affect 37 worlds. The Zirathi Empire has lost 5 major battles. Our own colony worlds are failing without human technology." "What do you propose?" asked the Corvan delegate. "We must contact the humans," the speaker said. "We must ask them to return." Prime Speaker Zith, attending the session by hologram from her damaged ship, hissed in anger. "We will not beg those primitive creatures for help." "Then your empire will fall," the Melkari delegate said quietly. The small gray being had become bolder since most of his people had left with the humans. "The Kithara are winning because you no longer have human tactical support. Your soldiers are dying because you no longer have human medicine. Your ships are failing because you no longer have human engineers." "We are stronger than any human," Zith shouted. "Then why are you losing?" the Melkari asked. The question hung in the air like smoke. No one wanted to answer it, but everyone knew the truth. The humans had not been the primitive creatures the Council had believed them to be. They had been the hidden foundation that held galactic civilization together, far away, In the new human capital, President Park Jin sat in her office reading reports from across the galaxy. She had been elected leader of the Human Coalition, the new government that now ruled over dozens of species and hundreds of worlds. The council has sent another delegation, her aide informed her. They want to discuss mutual cooperation, Park. Jin looked up from her reports. She was older now, with lines around her eyes from years of hard decisions. But her voice was still strong when she spoke. Tell them what we told the others. Individual species can apply for protected status in our coalition. But we will not deal with the council as an institution. They had their chance to treat us as equals. They chose to treat us as servants instead. As she spoke, she looked out her window at the busy spaceport where ships from dozens of species came and went every day. Humans worked alongside Melkari, escaped Vorth, refugee Corvin, and many others. All of them were building something new together. Something better than what they had left behind. The council had made their choice long ago. Now they would have to live with the consequences. 2 years had passed since the humans left council space. Admiral Song Hai stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Inchen's Light, watching as another group of refugee ships approached the human border. These were Vorth survivors, their crystal bodies dull and cracked from breathing poisoned air. How many? She asked her communications officer. 300,000, came the reply. The last survivors from the Vorth homeworld. Their atmosphere finally collapsed completely. Song Hai felt a mix of sadness and anger. The Vorth had been one of the species that looked down on humans the most. They had called human technology crude and inefficient. Now they were dying. Because they had rejected the very technology that could have saved them. Bring them to Medical Station 7, she ordered. Dr. Lim Young's team is ready for them. The Inchen's Light was the flagship of the human defense fleet, Protectors, of the growing coalition of species that had chosen to leave council space. The ship was enormous, built with advanced technologies that humans had been secretly developing while the council dismissed them as primitive. On the ship's medical deck, Dr. Lim Young worked to save Vorth refugees who were slowly suffocating. The crystal beings had been so proud of their advanced biology, but now they needed human medicine to survive. Their atmospheric processors were based on outdated council designs, Dr. Lim explained to her medical team. If they had accepted our help years ago, this crisis never would have happened. One of the Vorth patients, a being called Kefvar, spoke in a weak voice. We were fools. We thought our crystal technology made us superior to all organic life. We did not realize that your simple biology was actually more advanced than our perfect crystals. Dr. Lim nodded sadly. Pride is a dangerous thing. It blinds us to the truth. Meanwhile, in what was left of council space, the situation grew worse every day. The Zirathi Empire, once the most powerful military force in the galaxy, had lost half its territory to the Cathara invasion. Without human tactical support and medical technology, their armies were no match for their enemies. Engineer Bei Min stood on the construction platform of New Sol, humanity's first megastructure beyond the galactic rim. The massive space station was 10 times larger than anything the Council had ever built. It served as both a city and a symbol of what humans could accomplish when they were free to reach their full potential. Status report, Bei Min said to her construction team. Ahead of schedule, her assistant replied. The new quantum construction methods are working perfectly. At this rate, we'll have the station complete in 6 months instead of 2 years. Bei Min smiled. While the Council had always claimed that human engineering was primitive, human engineers had been quietly developing technologies that made Council methods look ancient. The secret was cooperation. Humans worked with other species to combine. The best ideas from everyone. Any word from the Council? She asked. They sent another technical delegation, her assistant said. They want to know how we're building so fast. And our response? The same as always. We tell them to figure it out themselves. Back in council space, the few remaining delegates met in a much smaller chamber. The great hall where Kang Wu had made his final speech was now dark and empty. Most of the species had either joined the human coalition or had been destroyed by the various crises that had followed the human departure. The Corvan delegate, one of only a dozen beings left in the council, stood to address the others. We must face reality. Our civilization is collapsing. The Zirathi Empire is falling. The Vorth race is nearly extinct. Our trade networks have broken down. Our colonies are failing. What do you suggest? Asked the Vorth speaker, its crystal body now cracked and dim. We must surrender, the Corvan said. We must ask the humans to take control of what is left of our civilization. Prime Speaker Zith, attending by hologram from her last remaining ship, hissed in fury. Never. The Zirathi do not surrender to inferior species. Then the Zirathi will die, the Corvan replied, as will the rest of us. The debate went on for hours, but everyone knew the truth. The proud council that had once ruled the galaxy was finished. They had destroyed themselves through their own arrogance and blindness. Far away, President Park Jin received daily reports about the collapse of council civilization. Each report made her feel both sad and vindicated. She had tried to prevent this. All humans had tried. They had offered friendship, cooperation, and mutual aid. They had been rejected every time. The final Zirathi fleet has surrendered to the Cathara, her aide reported. Prime Speaker Zith was killed in the last battle. Park Jin nodded. She remembered Zith from the old council sessions, how the proud reptilian being had looked at humans with such contempt. Now she was dead and her empire was ashes. Any survivors? Park Jin asked. About 50,000 Zirathi civilians have requested asylum in our space, her aide replied. Granted, Park Jin said immediately. We don't punish people for the mistakes of their leaders. This was the difference between the human coalition and the old council. Humans had learned from their own painful history that hatred and revenge only led to more suffering. Instead, they chose to help those who needed help, even if those beings had once been their enemies. As she looked out at the stars, Park Jin thought about the future. The human coalition now controlled hundreds of worlds and dozens of species. They had technologies the council had never dreamed of. They had a society based on cooperation instead of domination. But the greatest victory was not military or technological. It was moral. Humans had proven that a better way was possible. They had shown that species could work together as equals. Instead of rulers and subjects, the council had made their choice long ago. Now the galaxy was learning to live with the consequences. 5 years had passed since the humans left council space. President Park Jin, now in her 60s but still strong and sharp, sat in her office aboard the massive city ship Sol Eternal. The ship was humanity's new mobile capital, a marvel of engineering that could house 10 million beings and travel between the stars. Today, she was preparing for a meeting she had never wanted to have. They're here, her aide announced. Park Jin looked up from her desk. How many? 7 delegates. All that's left of the original council. The Corvan delegate is their spokesman. Park Jin nodded. She had heard about the final collapse of the council's last strongholds. The Zirathi Empire was gone, conquered by the Cathara. The Vorth civilization had shrunk to just 3 dying worlds. Most of the smaller species had either joined the human coalition or been scattered to the winds. Send them in. The delegates who entered Park Jin's office were very different from the proud beings who had once dismissed human requests for partnership. They walked slowly, their heads down, their voices quiet. The Corvan delegate, once tall and proud with his silver skin gleaming, now looked old and broken. President Park Jin, the Corvan said, his voice barely above a whisper. Thank you for agreeing to see us. Sit down. Park Jin said, gesturing to the chairs arranged in front of her desk. "You look tired." The delegates sat down carefully, like people who were not sure they deserved to be there. The fourth delegate's crystal body was cracked and dim. The few remaining representatives of smaller species looked frightened and uncertain. "We have come," the Coven began, "to offer the surrender of the Galactic Council to the Human Coalition." Park Jin was quiet for a long moment. She had expected this, but hearing it said out loud still felt strange. The same council that had once treated humans like ignorant children was now asking to be ruled by them. "Explain," she said to the Corvin. Delegate's hands shook as he pulled out a datapad. "Our civilization is finished. The military threats, the economic collapse, the technological failures, we cannot handle them anymore. We need human leadership to save what is left of our worlds. You want us to fix the problems you created," Park Jin said. It was not a question. The fourth delegate spoke for the first time, its voice like breaking glass. "We were wrong. We were fools. We thought we were superior to humans because we were older, because we had controlled the galaxy for centuries. We did not see that age does not always mean wisdom. We see it now," another delegate added. "Everything is falling apart without human help. Our people are dying. Our worlds are failing. We need you." Park Jin stood up and walked to the big window that looked out into space. She could see the human fleet stretching out in all directions, hundreds of ships, representing dozens of species who had chosen to join the coalition. Ships full of humans, Melkari, reformed Vorth, escaped Zerithi, and many others, all working together as equals. "You had 30 years to make this choice," she said without turning around. 30 years when we asked for nothing but respect and partnership. What did you tell us?" The Corvin delegate's voice was full of shame. "We told you that you were too young, too primitive, too weak to be our equals. You told us to wait another century," Park Jin continued. "You said we needed to prove ourselves worthy of your attention. Do you remember what else you said?" "We said ... double quotes the fourth delegate began, then stopped. "You said we were children playing with toys we didn't understand," Park Jin finished. "You said we were lucky to have survived this long. You said we would never be more than a minor species on the edge of civilization." She turned around to face the delegates. Her eyes were not angry, but they were very sad. "The time for that conversation was 30 years ago," she said. "When we offered partnership as equals. When we wanted to work together to make the galaxy better for everyone. You didn't want partners. You wanted subjects." Foreign Minister Oh Kyung entered the room, carrying a folder of documents. She was a small woman with intelligent eyes and a gentle manner, but Park Jin knew she had a mind like a steel trap. "Minister Oh has prepared our response to your request," Park Jin said. Oh Kyung opened her folder and pulled out a single sheet of paper. "The Human Coalition will accept applications for protected status from individual species and worlds. We will provide medical aid, food assistance, and protection from military threats to any people who need help." The delegates looked hopeful for the first time since entering the room. "However," Oh Kyung continued, "we will not restore the Galactic Council. We will not put your leaders back in power. We will not return to the old system where some species were considered more important than others." The hope faded from the delegates' faces. "But," the Corvin delegate said desperately, "without the council, how will the galaxy be governed?" "It will be governed by the people who live in it," Park Jin replied. "Each world will have a voice. Each species will be treated with respect. Decisions will be made by cooperation and agreement, not by the orders of a ruling class. This is not how things have been done for thousands of years," the fourth delegate protested. "And look where that got you," Oh Kyung said quietly. The room was silent for a long time. Finally, the Corvin delegate spoke again. "What about us, the former council members?" Park Jin sat back down at her desk. You can apply for asylum like anyone else. You will be fed, housed, and protected. But you will have no special status. You will be ordinary citizens in a society where all citizens are treated equally. This is not what we hoped for, one of the smaller delegates said. Hope is something you should have had 30 years ago, Park Jin replied. When you had the chance to build something better, you chose to maintain something worse. Some choices cannot be undone. Admiral Li Dong, now an old man with white hair, but still sharp eyes, entered the room. He had been with the human delegation from the very beginning, and he had seen everything that had happened. President, he said, the refugee ships from the Corvan homeworld have arrived. 2 million survivors. They're asking for sanctuary. Grant it, Park Jin said immediately. Get them food, medical care, and temporary housing. We'll find permanent homes for them as soon as possible. The delegates watched this exchange with wonder. Here was the president of the most powerful civilization in the galaxy, immediately agreeing to help people whose government had once rejected and insulted her own people. You helped those who were your enemies, the fourth delegate observed. They were never our enemies, Park Jin corrected. Their leaders were foolish and proud, but ordinary people are just trying to live their lives and take care of their families. We don't punish children for their parents' mistakes. The Corvan delegate looked up with tears in his eyes. We destroyed everything. Our pride, our arrogance, our blindness. We destroyed the greatest civilization the galaxy had ever seen. No, Park Jin said gently. You destroyed the civilization you thought was great, but it was built on inequality and disrespect. It was always going to fall eventually. We've built something better, something that includes everyone. As the former council delegates filed out of the room, Park Jin turned back to the window. The Soul Eternal and its escort fleet were moving through space toward new frontiers, carrying the hopes of dozens of species toward a better future. Admiral Li Dong came to stand beside her. Any regrets, Madam President? Park Jin shook her head. We gave them every chance to choose cooperation over domination. They chose pride over wisdom, control over partnership. Some lessons can only be learned through loss. And now? Now we keep building, we keep growing. We keep showing the galaxy that there's a better way to live together. Outside the window, the stars stretched out in all directions, full of possibilities and new worlds to discover. The old council was gone, but the future was bright with promise. Humanity had finally found its place in the galaxy, not as subjects or rulers, but as equals among equals, building something better than what had come before.